I wanted to go through this because fuck me. Listen to how I want you to note this. Listen to how positive this man is, even in a negative video. I don't know how he does it.
Thing us MMO fans know all too well. It's disappointment. Frankly, looking back on the last decade of the genre, it's been mostly one letdown after another. We have had a few games stand out from the crowd and make a name for themselves for sure, but otherwise there have been far more failures than successes in this corner of the games industry. I think mostly I'm just disappointed at how stagnant the genre has felt over these last like 10 or so years. So stagnant, in fact, that a bulk of the most popular MMOs today are the exact same ones that were the most popular 15 to 20 years ago.
It's because the newer stuff is so focused on monetization that it takes you out of the experience immediately.
It's like nothing has changed and there's been little advancement, which just blows my mind, if I'm being honest. The MMO genre was trucking along through the 90s and early 2000s. We saw quite a lot of diversity in these games, with some great advancements from one to the next. Then, of course, World of Warcraft hit the scene in 2004 and broke into the mainstream. Yes, sure, the general public vaguely knew about games like EverQuest prior to that, but that was mostly through news reportings about how evil the game was. But when WoW hit,
I gotta say this now. I'm gonna tell you my original thoughts when I first watched this video. Anyone who thinks that MMOs were popular before WoW is fucking delusional. MMOs might have been good before WoW, but they weren't popular. WoW was the watershed moment where the rest of the world woke up to how good MMOs could be. And there are always people out there who say shit like, EverQuest 2, RuneScape, Buds, Camelot Unchained. But the reality is, all of that is a drop in a very large ocean of people in comparison to what WoW did for gaming, and particularly MMOs.
MMOs finally like arrived into the public's consciousness as like a thing that people knew lots of other people enjoyed. The genre continued steaming forward from there. We saw quite a few MMOs released between 2004 and 2010. In fact, I still to this day remember those early to mid 2010s very fondly, when WoW was arguably at the time at its peak and everyone else was looking to grab a portion of that audience. We were getting—
This is such a bad way to like prove his point of what he's saying. What he should have here is the cinematic of what's that? Wrath of the Lich King instead of this shit, because BFA was terrible. This was the backslide. This is things going downhill again.
Several new MMOs every single year as a result. This was a great time for me personally. I mean, sure, all of these games were not bangers. I'm not looking back with rose-tinted glasses here. They weren't all great, and most of them didn't stick around, but there were a few gems in there that I thoroughly enjoyed. For example, in 2010, we had Dragon Nest and Vindictus, both games I had a lot of fun playing. Then in 2011, we saw the release of Rift, DCUO, Star Wars: The Old Republic.
All of that is cope, except maybe SWTOR. But all of that is cope, and I understand because I also played a bunch of shitty MMOs that I will remember till I die. So I'm coping as well.
Republic and Terra, I played most of those as well. In 2012, we got Guild Wars 2, which is a game I still play to this day, as well as The Secret World, another game that really innovated and brought something fresh to the genre. 2013, we had Defiance, that was a lot of fun. Marvel Heroes, Neverwinter, which I absolutely loved, besides the cash shop. Then, of course, there was old school RuneScape, and then Final Fantasy XIV saw A Realm Reborn that year. And then in 2014, holy crap, what a year that was, with the ArcheAge beta, arguably the best.
This was the golden age. Between 2005 and 2015 was the golden age. And then it just all went off a fucking cliff. Terra was awesome for a little while. I fucking love Terra. Oh, isn't that the game that Josh Strife Hayes single-handedly killed? Isn't that the one that he smothered with a pillow, like a baby in a crib? He just like, He single-handedly butchered that game. He chopped its fucking legs off and put it through the blender. And then some guy was so mad at him for it. Oh. 2015 was hot. Was released. This is still the best Guild Wars 2 expansion. I wasn't playing Guild Wars 2 at the time, so I can't say. That's the problem. But I know it was the golden age. That was the period when everyone was like, God damn, I gotta play an MMO. I need to. People who didn't even like MMOs were playing them.
Best iteration of that game. There was Elder Scrolls Online, which is another game that I still play every single year. Black Desert Online, I was...
Fuck me, I have such trouble playing Elder Scrolls Online. I don't know what it is about that game, but it's so fucking difficult to get into.
Absolutely obsessed with for quite a while. And then both Firefall and Wildstar, both of which I also played a real lot. All of that in a single year, 2014.
Kid woke up. Okay, so Ashura named his kid Terra and he's about to go smother it. Good luck with that.
Man, that was a jam-packed 12 months of new MMOs. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I just want you to know, though, I'm joking. I love kids. I could just never finish one by myself in a whole sitting.
I had a blast. And I recall during those years just being so excited at the steps and evolutions that these games were taking. And I just assumed back then that this trend would continue going forward. And like 5 or 10 years down the road, we would continue getting more new, interesting twists, takes, and advancements on the genre. Sure, I expected many of them would flop, as many prior had. I figured a few would stick around, right? Right? But no, that's not what happened. There has been a handful of new MMOs in like the past decade that have done decently well, but most of them haven't. Like we got Albion Online that launched in 2017, and that's actually still going quite strong. It's a contender in the top 10 of the...
The only reason, I'm going to say this now, the only reason that Albion is a contender is because it's an actually decent mobile MMO. I've thought about this a lot after I watched this video for the first time. I think Albion probably has the best chance to survive into the future because Zoomy Zooms don't know how to use a PC, right? If you put someone under the age of 21 in front of a PC, they'll probably start touching the screen because they don't understand how a keyboard works. So Albion Online, as much as you might dog on it, might actually have the longest lifespan of any MMO out there, because it's playable on a mobile device.
The genre. But beyond that, I mean, I guess in 2021 we had New World, which showed a lot of potential, and it was fun for about a week or two. And then in 2022, yeah, we got Lost Ark, which was also fun for about a week or two, up until you hit the pay-to-wall that kicked in at Endgame. And I mean, that's kind of everything. It literally, like, there's 3 new MMOs that are even remotely noteworthy over the course of these past 10 years. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed, to say the least. And when I look at the next decade of upcoming MMOs, at least the ones that we know about that are currently in development, I gotta be...
Notice that the new trend of MMOs that are coming is to rip off other game types and try and make them live service. So the idea isn't to try and make an MMO that's unique in its gameplay style and system. It's to try and make Monster Hunter MMO, or it's to try and make Minecraft MMO, or it's like to try and make Rust MMO. That's what they're trying their best to do, but they'll never actually make their own fucking game. It's so bad, and that's why it keeps failing.
To be honest, I'm seeing a lot of games here that are unlikely to break this trend.
When you play Guild Wars 2, are you going to enable drops? I believe drops are just... I clicked the button a long time ago, and apparently there's drops on the channel, so I'm pretty sure that they're there.
But there are some that have me at least a little hopeful.
I'm going to say this now, though, actually. Drops are such a fucking trap, I've realized, right? Because drops are such a bad thing for streamers, because they think they're actually growing when they're not. Because most people are staying there for the drops. They get the free shit and they leave. How many people who see those drops actually stick around? I would love to see the data on that. remember Guns of Icarus? I don't, because I don't even know what the fuck that is. It's kind of an MMO airship battle simulator. I don't even know.
And that is what I want to focus on for the rest of this video. Enough of the doom and gloom. Let's talk about the MMOs that I think have the best chance of actual success and any longevity, at least for me.
Do you see what I mean when I say this guy is somehow positive? All the time. I don't know how he does it. Like, he keeps me up at night. I'm like, how do I become a person like this? What combination of medication do I have to take to enjoy life the way he does?
For me personally, but also like thinking about a mainstream. Are any of these games in the next 10 years going to get into that top 10 list of the most popular MMOs being played by a wider audience? We'll see. Just a heads up though, this list is fairly short in terms of the number of games. Okay, so let's start off with the traditional MMORPGs. These are games that are more or less following the gold standard of the genre compared to the MMO lights or the shared world games, some of which we will discuss. But as for the...
That's the Dune game. We're playing that on the 20th, by the way.
Traditional MMOs, we're talking the bigger open worlds with many players visible at any given time in each of the zones, with the regular questing, the dungeons, the raids, etc., the whole shebang. What are the ones I'm excited about in this category? First up is Ashes of Creation. And let me just say this up front, I am far from one of the extreme fanatics for this game. I know a lot of the people in the YouTube MMO creator space have been singing its praises from the ramparts, claiming that Ashes is...
I'm so skeptical.
In the next generation of MMOs. I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, I doubt, if I'm being honest, that this game is not, let alone going to be the savior of the genre. I'm fairly confident it's not even going to break into the mainstream. If it does see success, which I think it could, it'll likely be with a more hardcore audience. Now that said, I can't deny finding elements of this game very appealing personally, and I think there's definitely going to be some fun to be had, and I'm looking forward to it. A lot of this is due to the fact that this game is pulling direct inspiration from the likes of ArcheAge, which in my opinion had one of the all-time best open world PvP sandboxy play spaces I've ever seen. I just loved so much.
I mean, he's kind of not wrong. To be fair, I feel like all MMOs should be that. You shouldn't be able to succeed on an MMO solo, at least in my opinion. You're not wrong, Dragons, but you've got to give solo players enough to do that they feel like they're progressing their character and doing things that are significant. Think about it this way. You want solo players to not feel like they're locked out of 90% of the world. You want solo players to be able to continually play things to the point where they go, you know what? I'm going to come out of my socially isolationist shell and start talking to people and form a group and then becomes a part of something bigger. I watched this happen in WoW on high-end raiding, right? During the Burning Crusade in particular, I saw so many people who were fucking social recluses come out of their shell just because they really wanted to experience the Black Temple raid with Illidan. Or they wanted the Warglaives so fucking badly that they actually spoke to people. But to get to that point, they played the game solo almost all the time, and then finally came out of their shell. My worry for Ashes of Creation is the barrier to entry of social interaction is so fucking high, with so little to do for a solo player, that they might hop in for a few hours, shrug their shoulders and go, I don't see the magic, and leave. That's the issue there, right? There's no solo story for you to go through. There's no hook into the wider world. At least not yet. Maybe they're working on that. There's no idea that a solo player can achieve something insane the way you see, like, I don't know. Who are the big WoW streamers? Peo, the PvP streamers who do crazy shit. There's that one guy who keeps on playing rogues and doing open world PvP, and he makes Japanese voices and acts like a crazy person when fighting people. He's doing that solo. That's fun solo content. But you're not going to find that in Ashes. So there's almost no reason for a solo player to want to stick around. That's what scares me. I hope that's something they address in the future. 100% agree with that, but the solution can not be like they did on Final Fantasy, where they just went, hey, have some company approve bots in the trust system. Now you never. No. That's a terrible decision. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. I'm just saying, give the solo player enough that they'll want to break the barrier to entry. Right? Think about it this way. You want to ease the social dick into the MMO player because they're skittish. It's their first time. They haven't had their digital hymen broken yet. You don't want to just jam it in there, you know? Mostly because they have the opportunity to run away. You got to ease that in. Once it's in, then there's no stopping them. But before that moment, they're screwed.
Much about ArcheAge when I played it in its alpha early beta that any game even remotely modeled after it, like, it piques my interest. So development of Ashes of Creation has admittedly been on the slow side. We are now 7 years since the launch of the Ashes Kickstarter, with no full 1.0 release date anywhere in the foreseeable future. They are nevertheless making strides in their progress though. As you might recall, the game is currently in public alpha testing at this moment. If you're willing to drop the $100+ you could start playing immediately. And while what is currently being tested is a shell of what they are promising for the game.
By the way, public service announcement for all of you. Don't do it. If you are looking forward to Ashes of Creation, do not fall into their predatory test our game bullshit. Wait until the game fully releases. You are less likely to have spoiled your experience if you are looking forward to this game. If you go in when the game is complete, you shouldn't actually want to play right now. You should want to keep this for yourself. The more information you absorb about this, if you play this game, you are going to ruin what it's going to feel like on launch for yourself. Now, through the autistic man in the social deep end of the pool. Throw, I think you mean. The autistic man in the social deep end of the pool and watch the chaos. That only works about 1 out of 100 times, right? That's the problem, MJ, is that what will happen is 99% of the autistic people are like cats. Too much and they just run away. But every now and then you get that one cat that, you know, does a backflip and shits on the floor. Starts blasting out the N-word at everyone they can get a hold of. Starts telling you about their love for trains. But most of them will disappear. And this is a numbers game. Especially for an MMO that's launching, that's looking to be big. It's a numbers game. You got to get the biggest numbers. And most of these autists run away. You'll never hear from them because they're just ghosts. You got to ease them into it.
Game's final version, there's still somewhat of a game here to experience. Now, you can fairly easily find some in-depth coverage of the ongoing alpha, thanks to there being quite a few dedicated YouTube channels out there. And from the bits that I've seen of various videos from different creators, there is definitely something appealing here for me. Now, I did briefly play an early alpha. This was a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, and I had a fun enough time with it, and the game is looking much better now than it did back then. So yes, I'm looking forward to this. Although again, I will add, there is still a ways to go. My honest to God educated guess here is that we will not see a full 1.0 launch until like 2028 at the earliest, and I would consider that an aggressively positive estimate. I'd say 2030 is, and that ballpark is more likely, although I will add that people following the game's development much closer than I have said that my projected timeline is way off, and maybe so. Check back in 3 years, we'll see where we're at.
You know what? I have actually thought about this. I have thought about going full sweaty in something like Ashes of Creation and playing the game differently to everyone else. So, you know, everyone else is doing like these controller node and fucking build a society, and now all of a sudden we've got these gay little rules where someone says a slur and now we have to have a guild meeting. This guy called the Turkish guy in the guild a cockroach, and then they go to the Turkish guy and the Turkish guy's like, I can't believe That filthy N-word called me a cockroach. And then you have to deal with people's bitching. I've thought about a way around that. Start a guild, or whatever the fuck it's called, in Ashes, and just be mercenaries. Be a group for hire, and be like, yo, you can do all that crafting shit. You can do all of that stuff. But I have 50 people who want nothing more than to fuck someone's day up. Give me 100,000 gold that we can use to buy shit for ourselves, and we will go fuck them up for you. And then you do what the US does. And before you go fuck those other people up, you're like, yo, just so you know, these guys are going to pay us 100,000 gold to fuck you up. What's your counter offer? Oh, you don't have one? I guess you say bye-bye. Say bye-bye to your stuff. Or, oh, that's your counter? Oh, 200,000? Wonderful. Time to go fuck the original guys up. And you just say, I'm sorry, they outbid you. What am I supposed to do? This is a mercenary guild. What did you expect? We have no home. We fucking plunder everything. That would be amazing. Not to play this shit like everyone else. And because it's a mercenary guild, if people start bitching and crying about words, I'm just going to kick them out. Because a long time ago, I ran a company in New World called Sanctus Infernum. And it was the most fun I had in a long time until everyone wanted to have a fucking opinion. Everyone thought they knew better than everyone else. And it all fell apart so goddamn fast. I should have listened to one person. I should have one person on my council. And no one else. And he knows who he is.
At that point. Either way, whenever this game releases, I will absolutely be checking it out, whether or not it has the potential to break into the mainstream, which I don't think it does. Regardless, I am looking forward to it personally, and hopefully it lives up to the hype that's been building over the course of these past 7 years. Next on my list is ArcheAge Chronicles. Now, this one is actually slated to launch in the not too distant future. I am pumped for that. There's a closed beta test planned for later in this year, and the full release is scheduled for the first half of 2026. Now, the TLDR of this game is that it is a new spin on ArcheAge, although how much of the original game's DNA remains, we'll have to see. We do know that there are a few big changes for starters. So the combat is now action, replacing the original's tab target. The developer has stated that their goal here is to deliver combat that rivals that of single-player action games in terms of its responsiveness and the gameplay feel. There's going to be a larger focus on PvE content. In particular, it looks like we'll be getting much more in the way of traditional MMO dungeons and raids, which the first game did have some of, but it was far from the focus. They're also putting less emphasis on the open world PvP, with instance PvP taking priority. And we know that housing is no longer going to be fully open world. Instead, they'll be going with instance player houses in specific areas, which means no more land grab at the fresh start of servers, which may actually be a positive change. Now, beyond those things, it does appear that at least some portion of what I loved about the original ArcheAge is going to be present. We're going to have...
So I have almost no interest in this because I think they're going to fuck it up. It looks too good on the surface for them to not fuck it up. Should have listened to your mom and stopped playing video games. The funny thing is, I did listen to my mom. That's why I'm here instead of building bombs for Israel. This is why I'm here, not building drone strikes. My mom had a rule. She was like, do whatever the fuck you want. But when you go to bed at night, you should be able to fall asleep in 5 minutes. And if you can't, if there's something in the back of your head that's keeping you awake, you fucked up. If there's something running through your head that you can't live with, you fucked up. That's why I have a family. That's why I have a kid. That's why I have a wife. Because there are certain lines I won't cross. Wasted opportunity. Look, it sounds fun, Edward. But real talk, it's a different thing. It's a really different thing. And I'm sorry, I'm not a retard like Oppenheimer or Kalashnikov, but it's a very different thing having designed a machine and watching it rip a 5-year-old's head apart. Right? That's that shit that'll keep you up. You'll be like, I made that. That thing, I made that possible. That'll fuck you up. It'll fuck you up more than you know. And if it doesn't, well then, man, good for you. You're a stronger man than me. Congratulations. I notice people keep having unreasonable hope for the next MMO, but it never ends up as anything special. Yeah, Josh Strife Hayes explained this in his video, Dubber, where he said we've got this weird paradox where MMOs release, new MMOs release, and we expect it to have the same amount of content as an old MMO, but the old MMO has developed over years. And the new MMO feels empty because the old MMO just has so much more than it. And the problem is, how do you catch up to something that's got an infinite amount of shit in it because it's had 12 years to develop itself over something that just launched yesterday?
Have the fully seamless open world. There'll be the variety of traversal options with gliders, boats, and scheduled carts that take you from one place to the next. There will be trade pack runs and caravans, which brings a whole lot of interesting gameplay. And while not emphasized, it does look like there will at least be some areas that have open world PvP. The things that we're still unsure of include whether or not they're going to have the similar crime and trial system where you can commit crimes like stealing other players' crops, and if you get caught, could be thrown in jail and brought before a jury of other players. If they're going to use...
Does the crimes include rape? If not, it's not a full world MMO. I believe it hasn't been fully developed.
There's a similar class system where you select from multiple trees, each based on traditional RPG roles and playstyles, with correspondingly themed skills, like there's a tank tree, traditional RPG roles and playstyles, with correspondingly...
Commit crimes, you say? Guess what my country's got a specialty in? Players from Guild Wars 1 said this about Guild Wars 2. Empty MMO without any class build options. And you know what? They were probably right at some point. But enough people stuck around for long enough that Guild Wars 2 got to build itself out. But that was like... The problem is the context of that is something that happened fucking years ago. What, like 14 years ago? 12 years ago? 11 years ago? But now think about how much the gaming landscape has changed. Think about the dopamine push everyone has to get satisfied within the first 5 minutes, right? And the problem is I'm one of these people because I'm like, if you start playing a game, it should probably give you some sense of enjoyment within the first 5 to 10 minutes of you playing the goddamn game. And if it doesn't, and you have to wait 100 hours, then there's probably something wrong with the game. So there's problems on both ends. People expect too much immediately, and I'm one of them. And on the other end, you can't expect a player to wait 100 hours of playtime before things get good. It's a horrible thing to be. That's why it's such a fucking horrific landscape, especially for MMOs these days. The other problem is the shareholders and the demand for money. Of course, shareholders and publishers are like the worst thing for MMOs because they fucking destroy everything. Because they don't give a shit about the game. They don't give a shit about your enjoyment. They care about the bottom line. That's all they care about. They're there for the money. They don't use the product. They're not interested in the product. They're there for the money. That's it.
Themed skills, like there's a tank tree, a brawler, a rogue, a ranger, a healer, etc. And then you pick the 3 you want, and that 3 combination determines your class. In total, that original game.
Hey, what's up, crackhead? How you doing?
had 220 potential combinations and individually named classes, which was really cool. And we also are unsure of whether or not they're going to have any of the original game's sandbox elements, like the fact that you can plant trees, herbs, and other crops literally anywhere in the world and then like tend to it.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that the first time I watched this video. I want to see if you can spot it.
Plant trees, herbs, and other crops literally anywhere in the world and then like
oh, maybe I am interested in this game. Did you miss it? Did you see it? Here, let me help you. Hold on. Let me just... I gotta set this up. We gotta do some CSI enhancing here. Where'd my fucking mouse go? There we go. Oh, just in case you missed it. Just in case you missed it. Here, I'm gonna help you out. Maybe this game will be worth something, huh? Just... I need CSI music while I do this.
Fact that you can plant trees, herbs, and other crops literally anywhere in the world and then like tend to it and watch it grow and then harvest it when it's ready, which was really cool. Now, however any of those specifics shake out, I am nevertheless hopeful for this game with the main...
By the way, I used to have a lecturer who spoke like this. He put me to sleep every fucking time.
Caveat that I expect monetization to not be great. I'm hoping at best in this regard that they avoid selling power or convenience and just keep it to cosmetics. Although I'm really not holding my breath. We may very well, at the very least, get convenience sales, if not outright power.
Damn it, I missed it.
Either way, the trailers have been enticing. A new iteration.
Yeah, I missed it. It's somewhere here. How did I miss it? How did I miss it?
Shake out. Now, and then world and crops literally anywhere in the world.
Oh, it's in the wrong spot. I need to do a little bit of CSI adjustment. There we go. Okay, a woman's face is not important, so that's the perfect angle. Ooh, you love to see it. Just
literally anywhere in the world, and then like
perfection. Maybe this game is worth playing. Oh man, I gotta get a bottle of lotion for my desk. Oh fuck, I moved that way too much. Oh, tits or ass? Yes. That's the answer. Yes.
Like tend to it and watch it grow and then harvest it when it's ready, which was really cool. Now, however any of those specifics shake out, I am nevertheless hopeful for this game, with the main caveat that I expect monetization to not be great. I'm hoping at best in this regard that they avoid selling power or convenience and just keep it to cosmetics, although I'm really not holding my breath. We may very well, at the very least, get convenience sales, if not outright power. Either way, the trailers have been enticing. A new iteration of ArcheAge is something I'm looking forward to. I will definitely give this game a go. And also on the plus side, it's coming out somewhat soon, which is great. Moving on to the third and final of the traditional MMORPGs on my list is Chrono Odyssey, which as of today is scheduled to release.
I think this game's gonna get cancelled. Hot take, I really think this game's gonna get cancelled.
Very soon. They've got closed beta testing planned to take place in the next couple of months here, with a full release scheduled for Q4 of this year. That is right. We should be playing this in 2025, apparently. Now, Chrono Odyssey is a traditional open world MMO. The game's gonna have real-time action combat with all of the basic attack, defense, and dodge mechanics. It's also gonna have weapon swapping, which I know can be quite divisive. A lot of people hate this. I don't mind it so much, but one interesting note here is that not only will this weapon swapping mean changing your skill bars, but apparently they're going to let you alternate holding weapons in one or both hands, kind of along the lines of how it works in Souls games, where you can alternate from having it in one hand or wielding it in both hands and then having one hand in an offhand, which sounds like it could be really cool. They've got 6 confirmed classes, each come with 2 weapon specializations.
I'm sorry, it's not enough. It's not enough. And I think we all know that, like, MMOs fall into one of 2 categories. Either it's Asian and it looks good and it's monetarily predatory as fuck, or it's Western and it looks like shit and you just can't play it because the systems are so unpolished.
There's the swordsman, the paladin, the sorcerer, the berserker, the assassin, and the ranger. They also have a rather unique mechanic where every character has access to this ability called the Chrono Tector. This allows you to freeze time, rewind events, and even explore other timelines. Now,
who wants to bet that they're going to somehow tie monetization into that stopwatch?
they've not really provided specifics as to how this is going to be implemented in game, but it's probably going to be along the lines of like time rewind, how it works for mages in WoW, where you can go back 5 or so seconds to the literal character position, health, and mana that you had at the time. Or maybe they're going to have like a sphere of influence where there's this bubble area in which time goes backwards or projectiles get slowed. I don't know. We'll see how it works. Beyond those things, we also know that Chrono Odyssey is going to feature an open world with seamless exploration between zones. They've got a weather and dynamic seasons that will take place. There will be open...
Yes, these are all the good keywords and key points you want to hit in the brief.
Field of...
and then never follow through with properly when you release the game.
Events that they say hundreds of players can participate in. We'll also have world bosses, random procedurally generated dungeons, and large-scale realm versus realm battles, which is another way to say big group PvP. So the trailers that they've released look good, although they're clearly not representative of actual gameplay, right? I mean, this is not real gameplay here. Although again, it is a fairly decent looking and sounding traditional MMO, and it is coming out soon. I will say though, similar to ArcheAge Chronicles, I'm basically expecting the worst when it comes to monetization.
God damn it, you see, I'm doing it again. Fiend, you just pointed it out to me. I'm doing it again. I'm getting hyper cynical. I'm getting so fucking cynical. I hope it's good. I really do hope it's good. But I'm so fucking hyper cynical about everything that I expect them to fuck this up somehow. I can't help it. God damn it.
Here, though I would love to be surprised, I'm not expecting to be. Still, either way, I'm looking forward to kicking the tires, giving this game
Hello, what's your name?
A ride around the block. Best I hope for is that it's fun for at least a few weeks to a month. Now, in terms of traditional MMOs currently in development that we know of and are going to be launching anytime soon, that basically does it. Like, those are the 3 that I'm actually excited for. However, there are a few MMO lights that I'm also quite keen on, and I think deserve a mention here. Soulframe, this is the next game from Warframe developer Digital Extremes. I have already played it, and
I'm actually looking forward to this one. Just because Warframe, the problem is I'm addicted to Warframe, and I can't touch that game. I can't touch Warframe because if I do, I disappear. It's the same as why I'm scared to play Path of Exile 2. Is I like get obsessive with games like that, and then I don't fucking touch anything else. And I like vanish for like a week, and I start getting phone calls from my family worrying that I died. It's really bad.
Although bare bones in its current implementation, I quite enjoyed it. The TLDR here is that Soulframe is like the inverse of Warframe in terms of its setting, its world, and its combat pacing. So this is a third-person fantasy action combat game. You go around fighting enemies, completing events, solving puzzles, and collecting loot. All of this is set in a world where nature has been corrupted by this evil force. You gotta fight the force back. It's basically like a bunch of aliens came down and they're polluting everywhere, and you gotta push back the pollution. That's the general gist of it. Now, the early version of the game that I played, which was referred to as the Preludes testing period, it's
the aliens came here with industrialization. We must return to monkey.
Divided into 2 primary sections. You've got the world, the top level, which is an open world made up of different static points of interest with roaming enemies and camps all over the place, along with the Undercity, which are these underground, subterranean, procedurally generated dungeons. And the game has you bouncing between these 2 areas. You're going to spend some time moving around the open world, visiting points of interest, fighting groups of enemies, collecting loot, and doing objectives, after which you're eventually directed into one of several underground dungeon entrances difference is you go in, you move through its various hallways, which are placed together procedurally, clearing enemies, solving the occasional puzzle, collecting loot, and then eventually you find your way to the exit, emerging back into the open world. Rinse and repeat, like that is the core loop of the game. Open world exploration, doing stuff, go into a dungeon, move through the procedural place rooms and hallways, leave back into the open world, and up and down you go.
Yeah,
you do
obviously that's the loop, right? But with the way they've done the loop in Warframe, I think if they get it right in Soulframe, this game's going to be a problem. This game is going to be a fucking problem. Procedurally equals scam. I don't think so. Potato. I think the problem is you can have really good procedurally generated shit that's actually fun, but the problem is it's so overused, it becomes like a crutch, right? So like, let's say, we'll go back to the games journalist article, right? Where I said, yo, write me a games journalist article on Avowed. Now, if you were a games journalist, you could probably write an article on Avowed all by yourself and then get the AI to critique it, and you can optimize your article to be a lot better, a lot more informative, and a lot more impressive than it otherwise would be. But the problem is that's not how people are using AI. They're just going Control-C, Control-V. Same with procedural generation. Procedural generation can be really, really, really fucking good when done right. But the problem is the temptation is there. It's like the one ring. It's like the I fucked up. Let me just reach out to the one ring. It'll fix all my problems. Starfield was absolute shit. Yeah, but that's a Bethesda game that's been released recently. Of course it's dog shit. Man, Bethesda talks a big game. But they're like that dude that you meet who's like, yeah, I got a 12-inch dick. And he pulls it out and then it's the size of a fucking flea. Hard. That, like, Bethesda doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. And all they do, like, Bethesda's done this for the longest time, and it's finally starting to fall apart, where what they do is they just reuse assets. That's all they do across both Fallout, Starfield, and Skyrim games, Elder Scrolls games, essentially. They just reuse assets all the time. It's the same game, and they just reuse assets. And they've forgotten how to write a story. They've forgotten how to build a world. They've forgotten how to do anything interesting. And that's the problem, is you can get away with that when you're really, really good at other things. But when you're not good at other things, doing the same shit over and over again is not going to work.
It's over.
And you know what the best part was? I released a short so long ago talking about how the problem with Starfield is going to be that instead of doing anything creative or unique that fits the world, they're just going to be reusing Fallout assets. And I got people bitching in the comments being like, oh, you're just such a negative, oh, that's never going to happen. And then that's the exact fucking thing that happened. Oh my God.
And over again, with the primary motivation being power progression, as doing the aforementioned activities grants you experience, leveling up your character, your class, and your weapons, while you also accumulate.
Oh, disgusting. Oh, that's disgusting. I'm spotting things that I didn't spot the first time I watched this video. What the fuck are these Warframe devs doing? What is this hip ratio? That's not, no, fix that. Take the slider and expand sideways, please.
Resources and currency that are used for crafting new weapons and armor. That open world, come release, by the way, is going to be a shared space from what I gather, where you will see other people running around. From what I understand, this should be along the lines of what they do in games like Destiny, where you will inhabit instances of these open world zones and other players will be coming and going. And then of course you can group up with people, you can invite your friends, but yeah, you'll see other people in this shared play space. And that's basically the gist of it. Even just this early iteration, I really like. like. I love the world, the lighting and environments look great. There's a lot of cool puzzles and secret rooms and mini games. NPCs in the game have a ton of character. I liked all of them, but my favorites were probably Verminia, the blacksmith, and then this little sprout creature, which is super cute. There are some early concerns, the number one of which is probably the combat. Definitely still needs a lot of work. It's quite fun.
Steven or whatever is his name is leading Soulframe. Rebecca is running Warframe. Well, then they need to fire Steven and put Rebecca on the job. She needs to fix these fucking problems now, before they release the game. Fire Steven, kick his ass to the fucking curb, and be like, yo, Rebecca, double your salary, double the workload. Fix the shit now.
It doesn't have a lot of impact to it. Enemies barely react half the time that you hit them, so they need to really hone in and focus.
Steve is the CEO, can't really fire him. Okay, well, Steve's gay then. And I don't mean homosexual, I just mean he's gay. Get rid of Steve. No more gay CEOs, please.
Focus on improving this. The game was also incredibly easy with almost no challenge whatsoever. Pretty much everything was face roll, and there wasn't a ton of content, but you know, it's a pre-alpha build that I was playing, so I wasn't expecting that.
Rebecca for CEO. Well, put that bitch in charge. I want her in charge. I want her in the White House tomorrow, fixing these problems.
That said, it's still very early days, and as a baseline, I really like this. I'm not even sure if they're going to be entering early access this year, but whenever this comes out, I am playing it 1000%. I already really enjoy the basic skeletal framework they have. I can't wait to see them flesh it out even more. Dune Awakening. I have talked about this game a lot.
I'm playing this. I'm sorry. I know it's going to be trash. I know it's going to be bad. I know that it's going to be a disaster, but guess what? Guess what? I'm a big fucking simp for Dune, okay? I have played almost every single Dune game out there. I can't not play this one as well. I even played the old Dune strategy games. All right? Yes, I love the big worms, Devils. There's nothing like a vibrating big sandworm coming at you with no mercy.
Maybe too much, but I don't care, because despite any early concerns, I can't wait to play this. As a big fan of both survival games and MMOs, this is just right in my wheelhouse. And even if the combat is a janky mess like it might be, and the servers are a total disaster as they probably will be, I'll be playing the hell out of this game when it comes out regardless. In fact, I'm so pumped. I can't believe it's just a couple months away. Now, if you somehow haven't seen any of my prior coverage, I will give you a basic rundown, but there are timestamps below if you're sick and tired of hearing me talk about this game. I totally understand, all right? So Dune Awakening. This is an open world sandbox survival crafting MMO. It's being developed by Funcom. They are quite clearly and admittedly building upon the foundation they...
By the way, Funcom made this, as far as I'm aware. Was it Funcom? I think it was. This game is great. This game is fucking fantastic. And I haven't picked it up again, because I almost want to not stop playing this game. But my second love behind MMOs are strategy games like this. It's so good. It's so goddamn good.
They laid with their prior survival game Conan Exiles, but new, improved, more MMO with more shared world space.
Click the store page. Hold on. Store page. Was this Funcom? No, it was Shiro Games. That's my bad. It's my bad. I thought it was Funcom. It's Shiro Games. They also made what's the game with the Vikings? I can't remember. I played it a long time ago with Donegal. But it was also fucking fantastic. Kept kicking my ass at it though. Sucks when you always lose.
Specifically in the
Funcom
end game,
published.
and obviously also set in the Dune universe.
But they didn't make it. I don't care about the publisher. Publishers are just pieces of shit.
For specifics, notable information includes the game's going to have all of the basic survival crafting features and systems. You'll gather resources, make items, build a base, craft gear, get stronger, go explore enemy camps, and engage in PvP. That is the foundation. The explorable space consists of these two separate massive open zone regions. The first one, called Haga Basin, said to be larger than the entirety of their prior game, Conan Exiles, with somewhere around 100 hours worth of content to play through just in that one region. And then after that, when you progress into the end game, it's going to have you moving into the deep desert, and this is where all the late game progression comes into play, as well as the large scale PvP. In terms of the type of stuff that you're going to do in the open world, they've got a variety of points of interest, public events, and content types. There's enemy strongholds, which are—
Look at that frame rate falling apart even in the trailer. Isn't it beautiful?
large elaborate bases, camps, ruins, and such, full of enemy NPCs. You go in, you clear them out, you collect loot and resources. There are the desert testing stations, which is their take on public dungeons. These areas are mostly underground and can come in a variety of different biome types. These will be full of enemies, and some of which will also have a boss encounter at the end, although they have been clear that these aren't like traditional MMO dungeons, and they're more akin to something like shelters in Fallout or the dungeons in Skyrim. There's gonna be a lot of narrative in here. You're gonna find things like—
watch these. You know how like Fallout New Vegas outperformed what Bethesda could do? Wouldn't it be funny if the Dune game outperformed what Fallout did? Or Starfield? It's like other people are better at making Bethesda games than Bethesda. Wouldn't that be fucking... I would love that to happen.
Data pads and audio logs giving you detailed lore background to that area, and the bosses are just going to be like tougher variations of basic enemies rather than like bosses in a World of Warcraft dungeon, for example. We've got events such as these crashed ships where you're going to see a ship falling from the sky, crashing onto the planet. If you go over there, you can scavenge for its resources. There's this police force at night where the security ships will scan the planet looking for players. If you get spotted, they call troops to your location. There's the sandworm, which is an ever-present threat. If you spend too much time on the sand, if you make too much vibration, the worm's gonna get summoned forward and chase you around, and it will kill you if it catches up to you. They got player hubs with these major towns that are full of vendors, quest NPCs, other players, as well as a marketplace.
Look at it. Look how janky it is. I know it's gonna be shit. I know it's gonna be the garbage, but I can't help myself. I'm so excited for this. I just can't help myself.
Place where you can buy and sell items. And then the end game is that region of the deep desert, which is this massive expansive zone made up mostly of sand, but with rock islands dotted all throughout. Guilds of players will be headed here in search of large quantities of spice, which is a main resource and currency for the end game crafting and progression. And then in that region is where this large scale PvP conflict will take place, what they have referred to as combined arms, which is like sort of like a battlefield or planet side experience where you've got tons of players all mixed in a variety of combat with ranged and melee weapons. There will be ground and air vehicles, artillery, that whole thing, just big scale chaos. Again, think battlefield or planet side. That's what they're saying they're going to deliver on with the big group PvP in the end game. And that is the—
Okay. I'm gonna tell you a story about this. Why I might be obsessed with Dune, right? I don't get Dune. What's this about spice? Okay, so basically spice is like, I'm probably giving you major spoilers here, but spice is a resource that's kind of like the only thing on this planet called Arrakis that keeps the entire intergalactic spaceway moving, because AI has been outlawed, and the only way people can calculate how to get through space without fucking up is by snorting a bunch of spice, right? They give it to their navigators, who like slowly over time devolve into these worm-like creatures as it starts fucking with their systems. And they're seen as these like great venerable people, but they're also these deformed, like Down syndrome, like fucked up worm people in tanks that live inside ships. They also give them to the mentats to be able to calculate certain probabilities at like a high end. So spice is this like super, super important resource in the Dune universe. And one of the reasons I might be obsessed with this is because I have family that lives in Namibia, right? And when I was a little fucklet, when I was perhaps 14 years old, my uncle took me out into this fucking desert and dumped me there. And he was like, find your way home. I want to see if you can do it. I'm going to give you an hour and then I'm going to come and find you. And like when you vanish into these dunes, if you don't know where the fuck you are, you get lost real fast. And it was great. I loved it. It was a bonding experience where he just dumped me in the dunes. It was beautiful. I loved it. This place is so fucking cool. I was on a quad bike. Fuck. I think the rest of the world calls them ATVs. And he was like, just drive. Just figure it out. You know how to do this. You know the survival skills for this. And I was like, yeah, I kind of remember what you taught me. Find the ocean, I believe it was. And yeah, I found the ocean. I found the coastline. It was great. It's living Dune. It's like actually living the Dune experience. It's great. 10 out of 10. Would recommend dumping your children in the sands and seeing if they can make their way home. So snort spice to get downs or AI. You should watch, don't watch Dune. I don't think the recent movies actually do it justice. I think you need to actually read the Dune books because there's so much more nuance in the Dune books. Especially Paul Atreides' bitch in the Dune books. She starts off as like this Jesus freak. And she slowly devolves into a person of what the fuck have I done? It's great watching.
The basic rundown of the game's combat and features. Now, like I said, survival game plus MMO in a shared world. Two of my favorite genres smashed into one. I'm just so pumped for this. Now, if you hated Conan Exiles, if you think that is a garbage game, you're probably best on avoiding this. But for me, I'm really excited to dive in. Also, this is like the only game on this in this video with a set release date, as Dune Awakening is set to launch on May 20th, 2025. I'll be playing it. Maybe I'll see you there. Another MMO light that I wanted to talk about, and I'll admit that I might be pushing the boundaries, including this here, but I want to mention Light No Fire.
Hold on, May? No. May? No! Damn it, I thought it was this month. Fuck!
Yeah, here's the thing. They're promising a massive, true-to-life, real-world size planet in a fantasy setting with other players inhabiting that same space, which is all very cool in theory. Of course, this comes with a disclaimer that, hey, Hello Games' last title did not fully deliver on all of their pre-release promises, but also they've got over 7 years of consistent free updates that they've added to that game, to the point where it is widely considered quite good. No Man's Sky is one of those titles that's like quietly super popular with a large dedicated fan base, and they seem to be.
No Man's Sky is a banger, but people still to this day, whenever I talk to them about No Man's Sky, they turn around and they're like, isn't that the really shitty space game? And I have to like have a 4-hour conversation trying to convince the person to just try it again.
Doing very well for themselves. So as for details here about Light No Fire, they said it's more ambitious than No Man's Sky, despite taking place on a single planet. Their goal is to
okay, maybe they can get away with this time. Maybe Hello Games has learned their lesson and Sean Murray knows not to go on to late night talk show hosts and shit. Maybe they're copy pasting assets from No Man's Sky into this new game, and I really hope they are. I really, really fucking hope they are.
Deliver a lot more depth and detail in that explorable space and say it should feel less shallow. They claim to have built a game that is Earth-sized, an entire planet with a lot of various places to visit, mile-high mountains from on the top of which you're going to see rivers.
They're doing it again, aren't they? They're doing it again. Hello Games is doing it again. They did. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? God damn it.
Canyons, oceans, and continents beyond, all of which can be traversed to and explored. Sean called Light No Fire the first, quote, real open world, something without boundaries, with us getting some glimpses of that in the trailer. It was also said that they're going to let everyone play together, alluding to this being a big shared space, but because it's so big, you're not actually likely to see everybody. You will come across other people. Now, they also promised that in No Man's Sky and weren't able to deliver on it at launch, but it is now the case that you regularly see other people in that game. So I'm fairly confident that they are actually going to do what they say they're doing here. And then finally, they say they want to bring the depth of a role-playing game to the freedom of a survival sandbox with Light No Fire. And while the focus of the reveal centers on the scope of the planet, the final game is going to have a lot more traditional RPG features with character creation, going through a sprawling...
Don't worry, Edward. You get that privilege by being a dick sucker in my Discord. Don't worry. We'll give you that one. I've got to actually redo the entire roles in the Discord. I'm thinking of either doing it this weekend or on stream, maybe either tomorrow or Friday, depending on when I can stream again. I need to fix the Patreon and at the same time fix the Discord roles and shit. So yeah, don't worry. We'll get you there.
Fantasy story, a lot of gear and progression systems, a large variety of enemies, bosses, and so on. Now, I know I'm not alone in thinking this could be something special. I think probably my biggest hope, though, is that they can really have a lot more depth and way more interesting combat than No Man's Sky had. And if they can deliver on that in this fantasy shared world that they're pitching, I mean, it could be unreal. Now, Light No Fire doesn't have a release date at the moment. Maybe late 2025, but I'm guessing it'll be sometime in 2026 at the earliest. Now, beyond those games,
But is Gluck Gluck also a relative of Muck Gluck? Yeah, it's his dad, didn't you know?
reality is, at the moment, my largest hope for a new great, like, traditional MMORPG mostly comes from games that are way far off and we know little to nothing about. Of course, that list includes the League of Legends based MMO coming from Riot, the ZeniMax Online Studio.
Okay, League of Legends MMO is going to release 25 years from now. I'm going to probably have died of a heart attack by then, or stroke, or cancer, or disappointment. What? Oh, fuck. That one's out.
They have a new IP, the same developers of ESO. There's that new
That's just going to be a pay-to-win trash bucket.
Ghost MMO from Ghostcrawler, and then Sony reportedly still has one of their 2 Horizon MMOs in development, one of which was canceled.
Imagine having any hope at all for the fucking Horizon MMO. I had the same laugh the first time I watched this video. Oh, fucking Christ. I love the Horizon MMO, like the Horizon devs. They are like my secret guilty pleasure, because whenever they release a game, someone else releases a game, and then they go on Twitter to bitch about the fact that someone else's game is better than theirs. And they like cry about it so fucking hard. They're so mad that their game just can't compete. And they're like, how could this keep happening to us? I love it. It's so good.
Canceled, but apparently the second one is still coming from Guerrilla, as far as we know. And the reason for my interest in these games is that they have the financial backing and the development studios likely required to even take a crack at breaking into the genre's top 10 list. And so I'm hoping that one of, if not all of them, actually deliver. But again, the fact is, we pretty much know nothing about any of these games.
Okay, so we know how the Horizon, like, MMO is going to be, like, how it's going to function, right? There's going to be 2 factions, right? There's going to be the good faction and the bad faction. And the good faction is going to be women and non-whites, and the bad people are going to be the white people. Just white guys, just dudes everywhere. Like, no woman, nothing, just dudes. Somehow they reproduce by themselves. That's going to be the 2 factions, and I unironically expect that to happen.
They're gonna be. So really, it's just wishful thinking at this point. Now, there are way more MMOs on the horizon than what is covered in this video, but to be frank, I just don't have a large degree of hope for most of them, in the sense that I don't see them having the sort of staying power any of the genre's current heavy hitters have. Although I would love to be wrong, genuinely. Like, just take a look at my yearly list video for every upcoming MMO, and you're gonna see 30 plus games that are currently in development set to release in like the next 5 or so years. Maybe a few of them exceed my expectations for both my personal enjoyment, but also in terms of large scale success. I hope so. In fact, I'll say that there is inevitably going to be some MMOs launching in the next 3, 5 to 10 years that do catch fire, and that is something that I entirely welcome. In fact, I'm praying that happens. But as of now, the games I'm
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. All of those games, all of them in the trash. You got a week to enjoy them, then they're over.
Most interested in and excited about? Yeah, it's pretty much Ashes of Creation, ArcheAge Chronicles, and Chrono Odyssey as for the traditional MMOs, then followed by those MMO lights or shared world bunch, which includes Soulframe, Dune Awakening, and Light No Fire on the list. And then a lot of my hope for those bigger budget games are the ones we know nothing about. That Riot League MMO, the new IP from ZeniMax Online, Ghost MMO, and then Sony's Horizon MMO if they don't cancel it in the next year. Though I will add one final note. My pipe dream that I mentioned in the recent Monster Hunter Wilds review is that I would just lose my mind if we ever got an MMO version of that sort of game. Imagine the depth of the combat system and the boss fights in a Monster Hunter game, but in a fully seamless open world with other players and things like dungeons and raids and enemy camp.
You know how Aloy's been getting like fatter? I've just got to say this. You know how like Aloy's been getting fatter with every Horizon Zero Dawn, like Horizon release? By the time we get to the MMO, right, you're gonna meet Aloy in game, and she's just gonna fucking look like this. That's gonna be Aloy by the MMO. That's what she's gonna look like. She's been getting fatter and uglier with each release. By the time we get to the actual MMO, she's just gonna be a fucking orangutan. That's it.
Camps that you go after, like, it would be so cool. Or even just like an MMO version of a game like Elden Ring. My God, I would lose my mind. The premise is so appealing to me. I just don't know if it's like technically feasible. At least no one's delivered on that sort of a.
The reason that there'll never be an Elden Ring MMO kind of game is because the technical skill involved with all that combat and then adding in massive servers to support like multiple players at the same time alongside their hyper complex combat system means the latency is going to be fucking insane. If you play Elden Ring, like I play Elden Ring from a third world country, and you like do the twin blade shit, like you will swing and hit someone and they will register that hit 5 minutes later, and that's with like 3 people in combat. Imagine what that's going to be like if they tried to make an MMO out of that. It would be fucking disastrous.
Concept as of today. Well, that does it for this video. A look at the upcoming MMOs that I'm actually excited for. If you think I shortchanged any game, any upcoming MMO or shared world game that you are personally very interested in, an upcoming MMO that you think deserves to be on this list, tell me why below, because I am all for getting hyped and excited for something new.
Bang over video. Aloy will drive a mobility scooter made from rubber. Well, you're telling me that she's going to turn into Nikocado Avocado. Not the new version, the old one.